everybody, and welcome back to Movie Fridays. I've waited a long time to talk about movies again, like I always do weekly, but it just seems to shut off every time My Little Pony Friendship is Magic comes back. But I'm back. Or at least until Discovery Family figures out the next episode airings. But anywho, today I'm going to be talking about probably one of the more interesting movies from Oliver Stone, which, as you know, he's probably one of the biggest, somewhat controversial directors that has ever come out. So he's directed films like Scarface and Platoon, Born on the 4th of July, JFK, Wall Street, though I can't remember if he ever did that one film, Scarface. Might need to look it up again. But anywho, one of his big controversial films, right next to Snowden, is that a film that focuses more or less on how the media can be delved into two people. And that film is Natural Born Killers. This is a trippy, insane film you really gotta think of type of movie. The story, if you don't know, is based upon, well, at least the story concept was by Quentin Tarantino, but as soon as Oliver Stone bought the rights for it, they rewrote it a bit and tried to make it more or less about the media on the two leads here, and less on the two leads compared to the media. So, in this story, a couple, Mickey and Mallory Knox, go around and, of course, they wind up attacking innocent people for their love and lust of blood. Anybody ticks them off, they will die. And they'll leave one person to tell the tale. In the process, obviously they're escaping from the law, they're trying to get themselves away from the prisons and whatnot. But of course, in situations like this, it's really hard for them, especially since, like, right in the first hour of the film, they get caught. But I'm getting carried away. In the beginning of the movie, we see that Mallory has met Mickey as being as a meat delivery person, which, from their perspective, is that of a TV sitcom that overuses uncomfortable, not well-fitting production music that was used in Ren and Stimpy. I mean, that isn't the first time I've ever heard production music production music used in films or TV before. Trust me, if you look at the one after the Super Bowl, they actually do use a production music track. Which is from Friends. Back to the movie. Obviously, Mickey gets arrested, but of course he finds a way to get out of the prison he's currently in. As of course he winds up coming back and saving Mallory, and of course murdering Mallory's parents. Which in turn, they both wind up getting married, and of course they wind up on their killing spree, which interests our character here, Wayne Gale, played by at least a newcomer to the film scene. That is Robert Downey Jr. As of course he winds up pursuing an interest in getting Mickey to spill the beans on what it's like to be a killer, at least in his perspective. And so he tries hard and hard to try to get this interview set up, but by pure coincidence, Mickey and Mallory both wind up getting arrested and placed in separate cells away from each other so they don't, chat or whatever. Of course, Wayne Gale obviously pulls out the interview, as of course the warden, played by Tommy Lee Jones, interesting casting, as of course he winds up allowing Wayne Gale to do the interview right after the Super Bowl. Or it might be during, I don't know. But what happens in the process is, of course, a riot goes on, and both Mickey and Mallory are trying to get them out of there. And Mickey is trying to, pull Mallory out so that they can live their lives peacefully without the police, going to follow them each and every step. This movie is a tough one to say. It has itself a concept which I've never really seen out of films before. I mean, like I said, Tarantino's original story was more focused on the killers rather than the media. Stone's version is more focused on the media exploiting and, they're just exploiting these two characters and how, over they could do this. How popular could they reach the world? There's people from Japan, China, Britain, everywhere. It's like freaking... what's an example? Oh, I don't want to name this. The Beatles. It's like the Beatles in this film. Everybody goes nuts for them. It also has an interesting style of editing. I mean, here and there and everywhere, they'll wind up cutting to stock footage or whatever, or go black and white. Or, repeat scenes or whatever, or mess around with the colors, mess around with filters and whatnot. Part of the time, the editing or the mixture of this feels like it's kinda, sorta, like a person who's just recently gone out of editing for the first time, and he's decided he wants to take a movie and just experiment with it. And messing around with all the filters as much as possible, and he's like, you know what's missing out of this movie? Stock footage. Lots of them. Let's have, let's have a family take a look at this interview with our main character, Woody Harrelson, and then have, a couple sitting around there, and then, we throw in the Coca-Cola commercial. That's it. Put in that little polar bear Coca-Cola commercial everybody's been obsessed about. That's what this is. I've never seen a movie use this much stock footage before in my life. I mean, it's like Ed Wood. Almost. But, in the process, what winds up happening in this thing is it does have itself an interesting style to it. No people can focus their eyes off of this thing. And even Roger Ebert said on his review, and it appears on the DVD box, is that Natural Born Killers is a masterpiece. Seeing the movie once is not enough. I think where he's getting at with this is the first time is just for, everything that happens in the story. The second viewing is for getting down the meaning and the story behind it. I mean, you watch it just to get your thoughts and opinions on it. This one is one that's at least worth seeing 2 or 3 times just to get the meaning behind it. It's just, wow. I would watch it a lot of the time, except this film is one of the most well-known for being the ones to spawn, the copycat crimes. After this movie came out, there was a lot of people trying to attempt the murders that were done in Natural Born Killers. But, of course, they failed. But one of the more noticeable ones is that of... Don't make me say it. I mean, YouTube basically is like the advertiser-friendly police now. They love to abuse the site, and so did the studios. But they're forcing me to say it. It also was the ones that created the Columbine High School Massacre. Although people will call that false, it is what people say is the references to two of the killers. The thing I must discuss is that despite the problems and the controversy this movie caused, and being one of the first of many films to be trimmed and edited by the Motion Picture Association, although they love to exploit violence out of their system, although they love to exploit sex, they like to exploit removing sex out of movies, compared to Europe, which allows it, but allows sometimes for more violence, compared to what's put into this movie. Now you're wondering, what do I honestly think about this? Honestly, it is surprisingly a good film. You have to think about it for a while and figure out what the concept and the meaning is behind this. It's an insane movie, but at least it's worth watching. And honestly, NBK, and I'm calling it that at least for now, is worth watching, and probably, if you're interested, worth buying on Blu-ray. Feels good to be back in this scenario. But anywho, if you've seen Natural Born Killers, what did you think about it? And on that side note, what is your favorite Oliver Stone movie? Whatever your thoughts are, comment below, let me know. And if you want to see more on this channel, wait until the end slate. And as always, I'm the Ferb Guy, and I'll see you guys for the next movie.